Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Want to go ahead and start our college football coverage here on a Sunday morning. We got to talk quickly about the Alabama-South Carolina game, okay? It's crazy, right? We go into these college football Saturdays. We have no idea what we're going to talk about. We know what happened last week, but coming into this week, you sat there and you said, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma, Penn State, USC, this Alabama-South Carolina, there's no way this game is close after what we saw last week with Alabama against Vanderbilt. Instead, not only is this game close, it is one of the wilder, crazier finishes that I can ever remember, as Alabama survives. 27-25 is the final score. And listen, on the one hand, you're just simply happy to get a win, survive in advance in the SEC. On the other hand, you see the topic, you see the conversation, in terms of the title of the video. And am I worried about Alabama now 7 games into this Kalen DeBoer era? I absolutely am. Let's talk about the positives and negatives of this game. By the way, make sure, as always, you're following, if you are on Twitter, our Torres on Bama account. A lot of talk, a lot of reaction to that game. In terms of this game, one of the craziest games I've ever seen. I joked about it. I said I've never smoked a cigarette before. I'm not a South Carolina or Alabama fan. I needed a freaking cigarette after that game, okay? Crazy game. Even the first half was crazy, with South Carolina putting up 12 points in the final 2 minutes of the first half. They come out, they score to start the second half, and then it's just a wild back and forth in that game. I'll try to be quick because at this point you remember the specifics, and I want to talk about Alabama surviving. But, Milroe has the deep touchdown pass. You think they've survived. You think they're in good shape. You think they're okay. And then insanity ensues, right? Lenore Sellers, they're driving the length that they're driving. There's the face mask penalty. He hits Nick Harbor with the deep pass, touchdown. It's called not a touchdown on the field. It's overturned to a touchdown. They don't get the 2-point conversion. You think you're home. Then they get the onside kick. And all of a sudden, it takes a Damani Jackson interception. Damani Jackson, who was taken to the tent earlier in the game, to survive and win. Again, on the one hand, survive in advance in the SEC. Listen, you beat Tennessee, you beat whoever, you beat Missouri. None of this matters in the long run. But again, the conversation is, how worried are you if you're a Bama fan? And I got to be transparent. Right now, this second, I am as worried about Alabama in the bigger picture as I can ever remember, because the bottom line is we knew this was going to be a process in the transition from Saban to DeBoer. And I'm not blaming DeBoer. I'm not saying he was the worst hire ever. But this team, it isn't one particular issue. It isn't one particular problem, because I look across the board and this is like the freaking Titanic. You're trying to plug 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes all at once. And it's not working right now, right? So in terms of the big picture issues for Alabama, I think there's a few things. One, the line play, it just isn't good enough, okay? And we talked about it a little bit after the Vanderbilt game, so this isn't new, but it's kind of scary that this team, which has as much talent on paper as any team in college football this year, they're basically getting bullied along the line of scrimmage, okay? Now, on the one hand, I want to give South Carolina credit. That defensive pass rush is elite. Ask LSU, barely survived. Ask Ole Miss, who struggled to move the football. Ask Kentucky. Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard deserve all the credit in the world. Those dudes are elite. Those dudes are Sunday guys. Dylan Stewart's a true freshman. He could play on Sundays. He could play right now if he needed to, okay? So I don't want to dismiss what South Carolina did. But from the beginning, Alabama just had no answers. And more than anything, there was just sheer confusion along the offensive line for Alabama, okay? Kennard getting after it. And by the way, not only was Kennard getting after it, but there were plenty of scenarios, especially early in the game, where Kennard was getting to Jalen Milroe completely unblocked. And you're like, how is this happening? What is going on? Same with Dylan Stewart. They're getting after the quarterback. To me, where the issue comes in, by the way, and it is worth noting, on top of them getting to the quarterback, Alabama finishes with 104 yards rushing, 36 of those from Jalen Milroe. And I'll be transparent. I'm starting to worry about Alabama. And I did say this after Vandy. After the Vandy game, all anybody wanted to talk about was the defense couldn't get off the field, and we're going to get to them in a minute. But one thing that I did say, it's becoming increasingly obvious, and I know that statistically Jalen Milroe is having a better year, but it's becoming increasingly obvious that if you can shut down Ryan Williams made big plays against South Florida, Wisconsin, Georgia. If you can shut down Ryan Williams, there's just not a lot of explosion in that Alabama offense. And increasingly, it's becoming more, we're going to put the ball in Jalen Milroe's hands and let him go win this game, mostly with his feet. Listen, I'm not blaming Kalen DeBoer. You have to put together a game plan that helps your team win. But Jalen Milroe, the final quarter, he was basically, being asked to run the ball. I don't want to say essentially every play because he threw a touchdown pass, but he finished this game with 18 carries in this game, okay? He took some big hits, and you had to sell out in this game just to survive against South Carolina. Oh, by the way, you're facing a really good Tennessee defensive front next week on the road, and you're facing a very good Missouri defensive front 2 weeks from now before you get the bye in LSU. So the only point I'm trying to make is increasingly this offense, it feels more and more, we're going to put the ball in Jalen Milroe's hands, and we're just going to have him run. And it's going to be backyard football, Thanksgiving Day, when, one of your cousins is just bigger and stronger than everybody, and you just put it in his hand. That's kind of what Alabama's offense feels like right now. Now, it doesn't help. The defense isn't. Before we do, I want to welcome a new sponsor to the Aaron Torres pod, BlueChew. Fellas, remember back in the day when you were always ready to go? Well, things change. You got a lot on your mind. Your football team isn't very good. Well, here's the good news. That's where BlueChew comes in. BlueChew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. To get started, it's so easy. Just go to BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No awkward trip to the doctors, no waiting at the pharmacy, no stink eyes, no raised eyebrows, nothing. Thing is, though, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, Torres, does it actually work? Do you think I need to try it? Well, here's the deal. Try it for a month for free, and I think there will be no turning back, all right? You'll love it. Your partner is going to love it. Your football team may stink, but you'll be rocking like the 85 Bears between the sheets. So go ahead, try it out, and here is the great news. We have a special offer for listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. You can try BlueChew for free when you use the code Torres at checkout. All you got to do is pay $5 in shipping. Go to BlueChew.com, use promo code Torres at checkout. You get BlueChew for free for a free month, and you only have to pay $5 shipping. Again, visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. Thank you to BlueChew for sponsoring the Aaron Torres podcast. Now it doesn't help. The defense isn't very good. And listen, I'm not scheme guy. I don't try to be scheme guy and tell you what's going on and what's wrong and what's right. That's not my area of expertise, okay? But I know that the Kane Womack defense this week was a topic of conversation in Tuscaloosa. And whatever he is doing, it ain't working, okay? Vanderbilt, it was really bad. Could not get off the field. What was it, 40 to 19 total minutes in terms of time of possession. This game wasn't quite like that. But South Carolina did control the ball. And beyond South Carolina controlling the ball, it is worth noting, they ran the ball relatively effectively, about 3.5 yards per carry. And that first drive of the second half, when they could kind of dictate, Alabama couldn't get them off the field, just like they could not get Vanderbilt off the field a week ago. And so you don't want to oversell it. You don't want to say this is the end of the world. You don't want to say this is the worst football that we've ever seen. But at a certain point, you can't just look at the stats. The stats tell you South Carolina had under 400 yards of total offense, whatever. But when South Carolina was in position to run the ball and not put too much on Lenora Sellers' plate, they were able to do it, chew up the clock. What was it, about a 6.5 minute possession to open the second half? That's got to improve. And so you take in all that. I would add this as well. It's the little things, right? What was the I'm not again, I'm trying to be careful here. I'm not trying to do the dynasty is dead and DeBoer isn't Saban, but go back to Saban. What was Saban? It was the process. It was if you do the little things correctly, the big things take care of themselves, okay? Why is that important to me? It is because at the end of the day, think about that game. Think about the onside kick that was not recovered. Think about the face mask on that final drive. Now, I understand Jesse Palmer pointed out that the defensive lineman got face masked first before he got the face mask on Sellers. I understand it's bang, bang, but it's a lot of little things. Malachi Moore, another penalty, kind of shoved the guy after the play. Whatever. I'm not here to say any one of these things is the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of college football. What I am here to say is that the little stuff starts to add up and becomes big stuff. So you don't want to oversell it. We'll see what happens. But on a scale of 1 to 10, remember, we can sit here and say, oh, Alabama, who cares? We all knew this was going to be a process, that it was going to be, it wasn't going to happen overnight for DeBoer. And I give Alabama fans credit. For the most part, I think Alabama fans have largely handled this transition well and believe in DeBoer and the staff. But at the same time, once you beat Georgia, the playoff becomes the expectation. And there are people saying, can you win a national championship in year one under DeBoer? Now you lose to Vandy. You could have lost to South Carolina. Obviously, we know what's ahead. Tennessee on the road, at LSU, at Oklahoma, Missouri at home. And if you should, again, you don't want to undersell how good South Carolina has the potential to be. But at the same time, man, it's there's a lot of stuff that needs to get fixed in a hurry, if at the very least you want to make that 12-team playoff and try to make a run at a title. We'll have more coverage on this game. We'll be live 7 p.m. Eastern on the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. Make sure that you're subscribed. Put on the notifications so you know when we go live. Woo, buddy. There's a lot to discuss from this game and the rest of the day in college football. We'll chat with y'all soon.